Hello friends and welcome to another video lesson from BBOS Talks. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe and click the bell so that you can be notified of new uploads. This video is in the playlist called Math Using SQL, and this time we'll be learning about the sign function, SIGN function in SQL. So this function returns a number's sign value. It will return three possible values. I'll be putting them in here, right here, okay? So the sign function will be returning either, three possible values. If the numeric value, which is being passed as a parameter to the sign function, if that value is positive, then it will return 1. If the numeric value is negative, then it will return -1. And if the numeric value happens to be 0, then it will return 0. Okay, it's that simple. So sign function. Let's look at the first set of examples wherein we will be using a hard-coded value. Okay, so this is using a hard-coded value. All right. So let's look at an example for something that will wherein the sign function will be used in a positive numeric value. So again, using a hard-coded value, when you say hard-coded, it is not a variable value, it is not a column name, it is just a value, numeric one being passed as a parameter. So here's your sign function, it will receive, it is expecting a single parameter, which is the value that will be evaluated. It should be numeric. Okay, so select sign and then the numeric value, in my case 50.47, as possible. This is just an alias from dual, the dual table of Oracle. Okay, but you can also, in some other later examples I'll be showing you, can also do a query of this. You can use the sign function not just from dual, but from an actual table in your database. Okay, select sign 50.47. So what it will do is it will evaluate this numeric value 50.47. If it happens to be positive, then, which it is, then it will return 1. Okay, let's do this. So it returns 1 because the numeric value in the parentheses happens to be positive. Okay, that's positive. Now let's look at another example. This time using or passing a negative value. All right. The negative, select sign. The value inside the parentheses happens to be negative 12,000 as, and then this is just an alias from dual table. Okay, we're using again the sign function. And then when we execute this, it returns the value -1 because the numeric value I'm passing to the sign function is negative here, -12,000. Okay. Finally, the third example we'll be giving for this set of examples using hard-coded values. This time we'll be testing it or using the sign function while passing a 0 value to it. So select sign 0 as, and then of course the alias from dual. Okay, select sign, let's do this. And it returns the value of 0 because the numeric value is being evaluated is 0. Okay, so those three examples were or under the category of using a hard-coded value or passing a hard-coded value to the sign function. Okay, next we'll be looking at examples, 3 of them, but this time we'll be using an expression. Okay, expression, a mathematical expression is something we'll be using here. Okay, first is positive values. We'll be using on the sign function. Again, instead of hard-coded values, we'll be using expression. Okay, so positive value. Select sign and then an expression inside, which will evaluate to something that is numeric, a positive numeric value or number value. So select sign 212 times 32, and then the alias from dual. If you'll use a calculator, even if you don't, you will be sure, if you know your maths just decently, you will know that this expression inside the parentheses will ultimately result to a positive product. That's because the factors involved are both positive, okay? So when you execute this, it returns, the sign function returns a value of 1 because the evaluated number value within the parentheses is a positive one. That's why it returns 1. Okay, next is let's use an expression that we're in the value being passed. The expression will evaluate a value which is negative. Okay, select sign. The expression is 5 minus 9, and then alias from dual. Okay, if we look at this 5 minus 9, if you use your maths, if you remember them, then 5 minus 9 is -4. So it's a negative value. So when you execute this sign function, it will return -1, right? Yes, so it does return -1. It's because we passed a negative value, meaning in this case, an expression that evaluates to a negative value. We're passing that as a parameter to the sign function. Okay, finally, for this set of examples, using expression, finally, we have an example for 0, an expression that will evaluate to 0. So in this case, it's this. Nothing complicated, 250 minus 124 minus 126, which if you will check it using a calculator, it will truly result to 0. So select sign, in effect, you're saying select sign 0 as, and then the alias from dual, which of course, if we execute this, the sign function will return a value of 0 because we passed 0 to it. Okay, all right. So the first set of examples we've seen earlier were using hard-coded values. The second set, 3 of them, were using an expression. And finally, we'll be using a column name in this last 3 examples, last set. They'll all be using a column name. Okay, so in this case, I'll be using a column name instead of a numeric value. Okay, this first example of that set is a positive value. It will have a positive numeric value in it. So select UTC, this is a column name, sign UTC also. Mentioning the same column name, which is UTC. I'm doing this, putting them side by side so that you can have a comparison of the value being evaluated, as well as the raw value of it, as well as the value wherein it's being passed as a parameter to the sign function. Okay, select UTC, the column name, comma, sign UTC, column name, same one, as postval, which is an alias from city time, and then I add a where condition, this time to zoom in on that specific value, where country code equals ZAF, some just code that I created. It's not really a formal country code, which is ISO compliant. Okay, so when I execute this, the sign function evaluates the value of the UTC column. In this case, it's positive. I'm putting them side by side so you can understand how it works. So the value of that column for this record being specified. For this record, country code is ZAF. The column value of UTC is 2, and that is a positive value. So the the sign function being applied to that value returns 1 because it's positive, all right? Positive. Second example, using a column name, this time for a negative value being passed. A negative value for a column name, for a column value. So select UTC, the same column, sign UTC as the alias from city time, the same table, but a slightly different where condition that we're in the value being zoomed in, the value for UTC is a -1, is a negative value, then it will return -1 once we execute the sign function. Okay, so the value of UTC for this record is -6. Because of that, it's a negative value. When you apply the sign function to this value, it will return -1. So that's what it does. Finally, the third example in this final set of examples using a column name is the one that will be having a 0 value. Select UTC, sign UTC, the same column, as 0 value, which is an alias from city time, where country code equals SLE. Okay, so when I execute this, you'll see. Because the value of UTC here for this specific row is 0, then the result set, the value being returned by the function sign, the sign function is also 0. Okay, so in this short video, we have seen the sign function, a numeric value, a numeric function at work. I have shown three sets of examples in three categories. First one using hard coded values, second set of examples using an expression, and finally, the third set of examples using a column name. Okay, thank you for watching and listening. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe, and I will be seeing you in the next video.